All right, everyone, welcome to the Sonic Truth. And today we have Sam Pura, Purified Plug-ins, and the Panda Studios. Welcome, Sam. How are you today?
I'm doing very good. I'm thankful to be here, and it's nice to meet you, Justin, and to be best friends already.
Love it.
Also, I just realized I like this black flag little design you have with your white panels there.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Good point.
You know, he's the first one who picked up on that.
Yeah,
no big deal.
I never noticed that either. Yeah. Go Henry. So where are you located, Sam?
So I am in Fremont, California, which is down the street from the major Tesla factory. But yeah, we're like 20 minutes from San Jose, 20 minutes from Oakland, like 35, 45 minutes from San Francisco. So we just like to call it the San Francisco Bay Area. So the studio is in Fremont. I've been in this location of this studio for well over 13 years now. And strangely, it's my 6th studio. I used to sublease existing places, and then I've been here 13 years now. And this was like the first warehouse that I got that was completely empty that we just did everything in. So yeah, it rocks.
Nice. It's great to start from scratch like that.
Yeah, when you get an empty shell and you can customize it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Especially with like a little bit of experience of subleasing existing places, I knew like what designs were cool and which ones didn't work and what I kind of wanted in my entire scenario. So it worked really well for me.
That's awesome.
It's good deal. So you're centrally located. So you're 45 from San Francisco, 20 from Oakland.
Yeah,
Imagine
exactly.
you have a wide variety of styles of music that come through your studio.
Yeah, it's cool. The Bay Area is kind of interesting in the way that like we used to have a lot more of a music scene than like what we have currently, I guess. But it's kind of like, you know, it's always been really based in like punk rock and a total, you know, kind of like fuck you aesthetic of like, you know, punk and thrash and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's cool that like I have always kind of been based in like the hardcore punk, like rock era of making music out here. And it's cool to like be known for my drum room and be like a drum eccentric producer. So like, you know, anyone that like has good, like, anyone that like, you know, has guitars and drums wants to come and work out of here because we have a great drum room and great guitar amps. And so we've seen a lot of like cool styles of people. And then also like when people used to tour through the Bay Area, which hasn't happened much recently because there's so much fucking crime that no one wants to come and play in Oakland or San Francisco because their vans get fucking smashed and broken into, which really sucks. But yeah, like if anyone's like always like playing in the Bay Area, usually they have to do the drive from like Portland, or they're like doing it from LA and then doing Portland like the day after or something like that. So there's usually like an off day where they like can crash at the studio and like hang out for a few hours before they do that thing. So like we get lots of like friends that when they're on tour, it's like just come and crash at the studio because we have 9 beds here, so they could just, you know, hang out here and shower and be totally normal. So like we get like lots of like touring best friends that come through as well as like cool artists, you know. But strangely, like a lot of my clients personally, like, I mean, I guess I've been doing this like so long that it's, I made records in like different, you know, countries with different guys, etc. So, but like most of my clients are like in different states, and like a lot of LA clients, to be honest, which is kind of strange. But I guess like LA is like, you know, they're known for their expensive studios. They're not known for like having, you know, like affordable scenarios. So it's a lot more affordable for people to just be like, how about I just drive the 6 hours up to Fremont and just hang out with Sam for 3 weeks and do my record, as opposed to like doing it down here with someone in LA. So yeah, I get lots of like, all my clients are all over the place, but yeah, it's all punk, rock music, pop stuff. Lots of electronic things have been coming through recently, which is really fun too. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of our types of genres that we work with here.
How many rooms is the Panda Studios?
So we had, when it first started, it was just, I have like 2 of the 10 units at this like warehouse here. So it was just like one of them, which is 1,500 square foot unit. And then my neighbor eventually moved out of his, so I got that side. But basically, the first one was just a bedroom, the big live room here, my control room that I'm currently in here, and then just a hallway and a bathroom. That was it. And then once we got the other side, we put in an ISO booth and another control room and another live room. And then we have a big warehouse. We got the kitchen, and then we have like another third like edit room. So we have 3 functional control rooms, 2 functional live rooms, and then a shared isolation booth where we throw all the cabs in and just fucking crank it. So yeah, it's like, it's cool. I mean, like most of the time when we're doing sessions here, like I'm mainly in this room most of the time. And then we got a freelance guy named Charles who uses the East room pretty often. Otherwise, my assistant Teresa is like doing vocals in there pretty often and like doing production and keyboard arrangements in there with other artists, even simultaneously on projects too. It'll be like, we have one project split up between the 2 rooms. And then I use the 3rd room for like any edits or any like, fucking plug-in stuff or whatever I need to do as I'm like bouncing down stuff in this room and stuff's going on. So like we like actively like every computer is on and like we're like using them like every fucking day here, which is really cool, as opposed to just like one big control room that we all have to share. It's cool to just partition out and be like, how about you go do some bass next door? I'm going to work on guitar over here. And then you can sit in the baby room and you can like bring up your laptop and open up your Logic session and like go through your vocals and start doing some production stuff. So we're all working on a record as opposed to people just like waiting their fucking turn, Yeah.
Yeah, that's the worst. Loafing around, just waiting to record.
Totally.
That shit sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's cool just like because it's like, there's a lot of different ways in terms of like, we're evolving so quickly in terms of people, doing productions at home and stuff like that. Like, what is really the benefit of like coming and doing work here? And like, there's a huge benefit when you actually immediately like start, like I worked with this client the other day who we've worked with for years. And so he's just like, he's always been through the Panda experience, but he's like, doing much more of his production at home and he still does vocals at home. And so when he came here, he like didn't have enough time to do vocals because he was sick. So he ended up doing vocals with Teresa, my assistant, and then was just like, I don't know why I don't just come and do vocals every fucking time. Like, it's way fucking better if I just come up and do vocals with you. It turns out way better. And so it's like one of those, like, once people like really like see and understand the need, it's like they're focused. We're all like, putting the brain power on their work. They're getting exponential amount of work done like in an exponential amount of time. And it's just like the vibe is better, the work is better, the quality of everything is better. So it's like, it's cool. It's like, it's nice to like have this thing that like really helps benefit people making music and making better content as opposed to like standing in the way of their creativity or of their end result,
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there are a lot of, I would say majority of musicians and songwriters have a tendency to want to record at home, but their focal point doesn't become on the art anymore. It's more about the technicalities. My vocals sound good enough. Should I do this? What am I really doing here? And I think that it's valid that you can record something at home, listen back to it, and then go into your facility and hear it properly done. That's what makes the difference when they hear the A and B difference.
Yeah, it takes the technical part out, and you're just focusing on the performance.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you're giving them. And I think what's interesting is we've been talking about Panda Studios, and one of your premier plugins, the Panda Rooms. Can you walk us through how you actually did that? Because I'm curious, like how you worked with Eddie and got that going, as far as like the modeling and everything involved with that, because that's a really neat plugin.
Yeah, thanks. So I think what's one thing that's like really cool about like just plugins in general is like there's kind of like an uncharted territory of like being able to like put my thing into a thing that people can't do, and so like. There's a band that I worked with a lot called The Stories Afar, and they like there's a couple of songs where like I would have the vocalist stand like 20 feet away from the fucking vocal mic and like shout in the corner of the live room. And then people would be like, oh man, I love like that reverb that you used on him there. Like, can you do that to my mix? I'm like, I can't. You gave me a vocal file of you and I don't have like an emulation of this. So I've always kind of like dreamed of like I could do an emulation of that, and if I could put that in a plugin, then I could like have my reverb. But like it's funny because like what people describe as reverb is just like really like room sounds. You know what I mean? Like it's like so that's where I'm like, all right, well this is like cool that there's kind of like not like there's like an untapped kind of area of that. Like there's like the Ocean Way one. And there, like, it was really only the Ocean Way one. There, I also really liked the Sunset Sound ones, but like it still kind of had some like complaints about the Sunset Sound one. And one of the other issues that I always have with like all these impulse response things is when you use them, they fucking have some weird swooshy tail at the end of it. So like even these really great ones like the 250 emulation, like the PCM 60 emulation from this company, like I forget which one but they do like the non-Lin one, and all of theirs, they sound so good. But then at the end of the tail, it goes pew. pew, and you could just hear it. And I like, and people are like, what are you talking about? I don't have that problem. And I'll be in the middle of mixing something, and then I'm like, what the fuck is that thing that's happening in the background? And it's the reverb emulation. So like, I've never really like had really great results with reverb in general, and I get way better results with just like using room mics and using room tones, or like reamping shit and like putting it into the room. Like I did a Spirit World record where I like took the actual fucking snare and like reamped it into the room and like, you know, did that whole thing, and like it was a huge part of the sound. And so like I'm like, why don't I put that into a plugin? So the whole thing was like, I knew I needed a big full range speaker, and I tried a couple of different, the first thing I did was there's a plugin called Deconvolver by Kilohertz, which you could basically just load an impulse into there, and it like is an impulse player. And so that's where I was like, oh shit, I can like fucking make a few impulses and like try this out and see what's up. So I played with it, and then I would get the pew on my impulses that I would create. So you had to like start getting like how long of a like sweep do I do, and like how long like, so you had to like, it was totally like this guessing game. Like I would be like, oh, it worked for the, like I'm gonna do a 3-second sweep and it'll work fine. Then on other rooms it didn't work right, and was like, so it was a total fucking like guessing game of like figuring out how to do it and having to like load it into Deconvolver every single time to see if it like actually worked correctly. And like, because like you could shoot it twice and it would be like 2 fucking totally different tones, even though it's the same fucking shot. So it's like, it was kind of like, is this thing gonna like, is my idea gonna work? But like, let's see how this happens. So I tried it with like, you know, a basic, you know, Dynaudio 8-inch speaker, and then tried it with like a big Mackie speaker, and then tried it with the NS10. And then I was like, let me buy this fucking like KRK 10-inch speaker. And I tried it with that one, and it was like the best one that I had out of all of them. I'm like, all right, let's just use this KRK speaker, and then I'll fucking return this thing when I'm done with it, which I did.
Yes.
So like, so basically, but I like, so, you know, I just like, so basically it's like, all right, I really like my mono U47, like, and I have it like 8 feet away from the snare when I set it up on drums. So let's try like just the mono U47, 8 feet away, and then like play with the timings until it's right, and then like play with it in Deconvolver. It's like, that fucking sounds great. That sounds really good. So like, I basically did that for every fucking room, because like, there's, you know, I really like my U47 in my room with my drums, but then I have a pair of hallway microphones in the hallway that just like sound amazing and are just nothing but like diffused sound. And so that's where I'm like, all right, let me do every fucking room. And if I did every room, then that would be like 12 different rooms. And like, we only left out one room because it didn't look aesthetically right to have one extra button that wasn't with us. So we're like, whatever, we'll just leave out the last little bathroom one, and we'll just have them all like equal. But yeah, like, you know, I like setting up like some drum parts for some songs in the warehouse, and I like setting up drum parts for like a verse in the East room or in this room. And so like let's try every room, let's get it like that. And like, so on like what it is it's every room, and then it's mono U47, a stereo binaural head microphone, then it's a stereo set of ribbons, a stereo set of large condensers, and then a stereo set of the SDC condensers. And so like all of them, if you blend it together, like you have this fucking amazing room sound, or you could just solo each one and have it just be just that one. And like, it's like one of my fucking most used plugins. Like at this point, like when I'm in mixes, it'll be like a guitar part is in the verse and it's a mono thing. And I'm just like, well, sick. Why don't I just like throw on my stereo room and like throw a little bit of that, and then like it's like I use it all the fucking time. And everyone, like, there's also the other thing is too, is like my friend Danny Halprin, who's a live sound guy, he uses it live all the time because he's like, dude, it sucks because like I can't like get like, you know, like this, like the overheads will sound too fucking close, and like I can't put any like reverb or ambience on it, but like I could put like some quick like Panda Room emulation on it in the ISO booth and like have a little bit more like, so it's tight. I understand, like it's cool to see other people like having the benefits of like using it, but like yeah, I love it. It's like a really, really, really good plugin, and it ended up turning out really well. And it doesn't have the fucking whoosh artifact. I've worked so fucking hard to make sure that that doesn't happen on there. And like even in one of the betas, one of the rooms that did it, and I was like, no fucking way. And so I had to like figure out how to fix that and like reshoot it again. But yeah, it turned out really good. Everyone seems to really like it who does like fuck with that plugin, and it's like, it's tight. It's cool. Like it's also like, again, it's like a cool thing about like the branding of a plugin company is like I can brand my studio and like have my studio in a plugin. So it's a cross promotion for like what we do, my production techniques, my type of thing. And it's like, it's tight, you know? And it's funny too, because like I'll get some mixes back from some friends and they'll send something to me. I'm like, you totally use the Panda Rooms on vocals for this. And didn't you use like this one? I can like, I hear it and it's very distinctive. It's like clearly this fucking room here. So it's tight. It turned out really well and I'm really proud of that. So I'm glad you asked me about that.
Yeah, it's well, one thing that struck me is it was very ambitious, I feel like, in a way with how you went about it. But then also, like you mentioned, you know, using it during live sound and things like that. You probably weren't thinking about that when you were doing this. You know,
absolutely not. Yeah,
that's the coolest thing. It's like when it's used for something it's not intended for.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
That's
one of my favorite things to kind of talk about with some people sometimes is the unknown unknowns. It's like a great quote from Donald Rumsfeld, but it's basically like, you know, like there's known knowns, there's known unknowns, and there's unknown unknowns. So like an example of like an unknown unknown is like when they created Instagram, they're like, wow, people are going to share photos and stuff like that. They didn't think it was going to be weaponized for disinformation for political campaigns. You know what I mean? Like that's the unknown unknown of that. You know what I mean? So it's like here, like same with like autotune as well too. Like, you know, they thought it was going to help like basic things, not create this whole fucking T-Pain effect thing where it's going to be used incorrectly. Like that's the unknown unknowns of it. So yeah, it's like, it's tight that like the unknown unknown is like live sound guys are using my room emulations live. Like I've never anticipated that, you know. Same was like even like the VU comp, like that's like become like a favorite from like a lot of guys. And like one of them was like the Radiohead's, like Tom York was using it in the Smile for their live set that like got put on YouTube, and he's like, oh yeah, I used the VU comp on the vocals for that. It's like, what? Like I would never, like I'll never work with Tom York. It's never gonna happen in my life, as much as I would love to. But like the fact that like he's using the emulations of my modded like fucking like that fucking rocks. Like that's an unknown unknown of like that plugin being made. Like that's crazy, you know.
It's nuts. Yeah, you put something out there, and it's just crazy to see where it goes. We're seeing the same thing a little bit with the Audioscape hardware with live sound now. It's becoming a thing. You're seeing hardware in live racks, and it's crazy because they come in and they'll use. I mentioned this lab here earlier before we started chatting, and they'll use this lab and pick out like, oh, I want to use this on vocals. I want to use this on guitars, and like. They'll leave with like a big Audioscape rack that's going on tour.
That rocks. That rocks.
Yeah, it's crazy because you don't, you know, you're more, you know, when you're building these things, you're thinking studio, not you know, going on tour on the road. You know.
Yeah.
So it's unknown, like you said. That's awesome.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is like cool about plugins too is like, you know, a lot of people's like entire plugin company is based on like creating one-to-one emulations of things, which I think is just like a really like that's a Pandora's box of like gear sluts comments and fucking things. You know what I mean?
Geez,
so it's like it's really nice to like not be in the one-to-one thing where I'm like, well, sick, I can make this like sound like my room, and no one could be like, it doesn't sound exactly like his you know what I mean? Like it's tight to like have like a thing where like there's no one's gonna like discuss and get upset about that. You know what I mean? Or like the VU comp where it's like it's emulations of like my favorite setting on this. Like, why don't I do the other ones? Because I didn't want to. I don't use that for that reason. That's not what I want to do. You know what I mean? So like the limitations and like the unexplored aspects of like plugins are like I find that really like enabling and empowering, you know what I mean? As opposed to like you know, no one needs a fucking another 1176 plugin, but like how can I do that in a way that like would make people think that they maybe should try it this way? You know what I mean? Like you don't have a 1176 plugin that has 4 different fucking versions that you could switch between it. So then why didn't we do that? Like, so it's cool to like find those kind of avenues of like uncharted territories, you know? And it's also based around the fact that it's like a lot of these companies too that like make plugins, they like are just software companies. Whereas like I'm a fucking engineer who fucking makes records every day, and I want to like fix my workflow and my tools, you know what I mean? And so like that's where I'll just like have moments where I'll like turn to Teresa. I'm like, you know what sucks? That like in order for me to fucking like see which one it is, I have to unpatch and patch this. Like it'd be so sick if I had a switch. Wow, it'd be so sick if I could do a plugin. Oh my God, it's so fucking sick. Like no one else would have thought of that unless they were fucking doing what I was doing and having that frustration. So like it's tight just to like be branded in my own studio and my own workflow and my own kind of thing and have that resonate with people and like be cool, you know?
Yeah. Anytime I see a comment about your plugins, it's so like you could tell they really it's helped their workflow. Everything is, sometimes you see comments about plugins and you're like, yeah, whatever. Like, you know, it doesn't seem, I don't want to say legitimate, but you know, software is one of those funny things where it's like there's an infinite amount of them that you can sell.
Yeah.
So like I see legit happy fucking people using your plugins.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So
and the other thing that I really do enjoy like about it too is like the number one thing that like people who really like my plugins will say to me is, your plugins are too fucking cheap, dude. It's like, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather it be like, dude, like I feel like I got like way too much value out of spending $40 on your plugins. And I'm like, oh, boo hoo for me, whatever. You know what I mean? Like that rocks. Like I'm happy to like, that's an amazing thing for me to like, and it makes me just feel like it's like, you know, like we sell plugins and like it does well, but like we haven't even hit like 0.00001% of like the fucking plugin market. You know what I mean? Like no one knows of like and like I've never spent $1 on an ad. Like it's all just been like me using my fucking Instagram to promote things, and like it has done really well. You know what I mean? So like there's an untapped resource that like we'll like eventually get into when I'm like not busy making fucking records, you know what I mean? But it's like, that's a great problem to have, you know what I mean? I'd rather be like, whatever, like we can hit that like avenue and like run the ads and be like, we can annoy people's, you know, feeds like Safari Pedals does or something like that, you know what I mean? Like at some point, if I really wanted to, but like I'm totally fine and like totally chill with like having my plugins be cheap and like really useful to people who know about it, and like be a really cool thing that like people like proudly promote because they actually do get a lot of like value from it.
Word of mouth is so important too. That's you know, the way we started was just grunt, do it yourself. Just, you know, started in a little garage and just kept building things. And somebody saw it in someone's studio. They started talking. We never like went out and actively don't even sell through dealers, you know. And I know with plugins you don't have to sell through dealers really or anything like that. But for hardware manufacturers, that's just one of those things. That's just hard, like they just assume, where can I get your thing at? And it's definitely. That's the way to go, because you're building your castle on rock and not sand, you know, just not to use a biblical
like,
reference, but
you know as well too, but like, you know, being a DIY, like being a DIY guy for one, and like being a DIY gear builder, and then being a DIY gear building company, like you understand that like any of these companies that are like manufacturing stuff, they're manufacturing them shittier than you could possibly do it. And it's 3 times more expensive because they're having to factor in the dealer and the other people's cash cut on it. And like, you know, this whole business so well, you know what I mean? So that's where it's like, why wouldn't I just get the name brand? Or why wouldn't I do that? It's like, dude, like it's so much more like, and I don't have to charge so much because I can get way more money from my third of the cut by just doing it my fucking self. Like it's a genius thing, you know? Yeah,
exactly. And it's funny because you were talking about one-to-one, you know, recreations and that. You know, one thing that's not talked about, even if, you know, someone's trying to build something and they're trying to do it in a mass format, limitations, man. Super, like a lot of limitations on like what parts are available in the current market to make that thing. And a lot of those materials and compositions are completely different on those materials they're using. So the only way to get that sound is to go buy those old parts. And and if you're building it yourself, and you know, you can throw caution to the wind and be like, I don't care, I'm going to go buy, you know, the vintage things and just chuck them in there, you know, and get the sound. And it doesn't matter if we can only build 50. Fuck it, we'll build 50 and we're done. Yeah,
you know, totally. Yeah, that's like David Bach, who was like, you know, Bach Audio. He came and hung out one time, and he was like brilliant, phenomenal, like cool guy. Can't say like enough cool things about him. And like one of the things that he was like really stressing to me was like when he had worked with like companies like UA and et cetera in the past, like, you know, you'll work so hard on like building something, and then someone in the office does the math and looks at Mauser and is like, I can get an equivalent part for exponentially cheaper. And so then all of a sudden those things get written into it. And he's like, hang on. You change this fucking thing and this thing and this thing with the equivalent versions. And they're like, yeah, it's totally fine. It's like, then he does an audio test. It's like, no, it's not fine. It's way fucking different with this. Like, you totally fucked up the design, you know? So it's like, I can see how frustrating that has to be inside of that, where you're just like, you're at the whim of like whatever they can fucking, you know, whatever they want to choose for, because of what works for their manufacturing and how many units they want to produce. And you're just worried about the quality. And all of a sudden, like, your opinion is the one that like is the least to be heard because you're just the annoying guy who cares how it sounds. You know what I mean? Like, I can see how like insane it would be. Just be like, fuck that. I'm going to make my own fucking microphone company instead. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care because I only need to make 300 of these with the 300 available opponents. And it would be way more exponentially profitable than making 30,000 with this equivalent version of this, you know?
Yeah. And even for us, I mean, in particular, it's not even about making them, like, it's literally just trying to make the best shit you can make, like with the available parts that you can do. It's, you know, and luckily, you know, there's no one that's checking the parts except me. So, you know, so that's one of those things. It's funny, you mentioned that because I was talking to another audio friend and they were saying that they literally, like, they were working on they work on some vintage consoles and that, and they had some test boards and they made like a do-it-yourself project for it and eventually got picked up by like one of those do-it-yourself platforms. But he literally tried like every single resistor out, had like 6 or 8 different test boards and was trying every single different kind of resistor out, went to the effort and found it. And then it got pushed to that do-it-yourself company and they just threw metal films in there.
Got it. Yeah.
And like the resistor he's trying to replicate is just some weird, like they only like existed only a few years. They were 2% resistors and they had like pinholes inside of them, all this crazy stuff going on. And he finally found like a good equivalent and everything to, you know, after testing all that effort. And so, yeah, it's just, yeah, it happens even at the do-it-yourself level too. It's one of those things where even I tell people when they're building kits, it's like, don't just accept at face value what parts are recommended on the BOM. Look at what was used. And because like a lot of that stuff is just, it's there. It's a great resource, but it's there to get you the build the cheapest way possible, you know, which is part of what do-it-yourself is, you know?
There's like that company Mojo Tone. I got a, and they're like officially like licensed to do things. So like we got a deluxe reverb kit from them and it's like, you know, the official licensed one with the head. And so I had my amp guy build it. And even like with like what came with it, like he still swapped out a bunch of things and like changed a bunch of the things. And it's like, even though it's like, we're going to use these caps instead. Like I like these ones, we're going to use these. And it's like, it sounds fucking awesome. You know what I mean? But like if I had done exactly what they had presented, like I don't think I would be as happy with what it is. You know what I mean? Especially if I like have a great tech who's like, no, I know what you like and I know what stuff you're doing. You're going to want these caps instead of these ones, even though it's the same fucking thing, you know? So it's like, it's tight to like have people like that who really care about the guts of those things and like who also like are best friends and want to like help on the builds and do things that are really cool. You know, it's like all these like 1176s that I have like from Hairball and stuff, like they're all fucking tweaked a little bit, you know? It's like, cause I'd hit up Mike at some point and be like, I'm like, this one's like a little noisy. Like, what can I do? And he's like, try this, like buy these parts from Mauser, put this in and tell me what you like. And then like, I ended up with things that like, they're not like, that's not what comes in his kit. You know what I mean? Like it's, but it sounds my way and I really like it, you know? So it's like, it's tight. It's really cool to just be able to fuck with shit and like, just really make things so much cooler than the actual fucking shit that you could buy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, another cool thing about do-it-yourself is there's stuff you can't buy that you can go find a schematic and build. Like, you know, when I first started building guitar pedals, it was like, there's these rare, obsolete fuzz pedals and that I could find the schematics, make a variboard layout, go build it. I was like a kid in a candy store because then I could at least hear somewhat what it was like. And you can't buy it. The thing's like, you know, so there's that aspect of it too. Totally.
What was your first like tube circuit thing that you built?
I used to raid the local music store here in town, and I would like grab all their like crappy like Dean Markley solid state amps, and I would just rip out all the guts and circuit boards. I even had a run of I bought these little Fender Champion amps, and I gutted those. And I think it might have been a Marshall 18 water. I think I built first, and then a lot of Fender amps out of organ amps and things like that. The way I started, I didn't even have enough money for kits when I started. So that was a blessing in disguise because that just forced me to learn everything about it. You know, in the mid, like, you know, 2003, 4 range, I just started really digging into that.
Yeah, and there's like no kits available at that time too.
Yeah, I literally, for parts, I couldn't afford parts, so I gutted like my mom's VCR and took like the parts from that and built a fuzz pedal from that, you know?
That's crazy. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I used to go like walking around just to look at what people would throw out and grab parts from that shit. You know, that's how it started. It was just like literally, but it taught me because I wasn't doing the paint by numbers thing. It taught me that like, you know, I can, you know, how do I take an old Hammond organ amp that's not a B3 and, you know, change it into a Tweed Deluxe or something like that, you know? So
That's awesome.
yeah, I miss those days sometimes, you know, just being able to tinker and have that, you know,
mess around with it. Yeah.
you know,
That
now
rocks.
it's deadlines. Gotta get this product out. We
right?
showed this product.
Yeah. Yeah, tube
So-
stuff always freaked me out. I've never built anything tube. I'm always like, I think I respect power enough to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm going to hand this over to someone else to do it. But I like really wanted to build a drip LA2A like a long time ago. That was like one of the, like, do I want to buy these boards? Those boards are fucking expensive too.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, they
yeah.
are. I got one of their 6. I think I got years ago. I've never even populated it, but one of their 670 boards. It's just sitting around. It's this huge freaking circuit board. That's like, this board is too big. I even like back then, like I think it was the first issue, and yeah, I literally never built the board. Obviously, we have our own 670 coming out and whatnot.
That's awesome.
But yeah. Our board is a lot smaller than that.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with the first issue drip 670 boards, but yeah.
Yeah, they're
they were-
fucking huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
That's
his
so
picture's
funny.
got like his foot on it or something. Like,
Oh,
you know,
shit.
yeah.
Man. Damn.
That's
But,
cool. I'm
yeah.
excited for your 670 because I love my Unfairchild so much that I'm like, I want one just for channel tracking now because I'm using my Unfairchild on Mixbus all the time. And I'm like, I always want to use it on vocals and like acoustic and stuff. And I'm like, if I could just, now I'm going to need to get another one. Tell me yours can run unlinked.
Yeah, there is
Amazing.
that.
Yeah.
And then there is, what's cool about the 670 is a lot of people are doing them, but they're doing them, all of them are kind of a little bit different, you know,
Yeah.
what's out there. And I you know, the way Undertone did that, it's really neat with some of their options that they added in that, the forward feedback. And I think that's really cool. I think that they're all like just a little bit different.
Yeah.
And one thing with us, you know, that we did is we just went with the original 2 power supply. A lot of people don't do that. So
That's cool.
I'm having a hard time finding, you know, the 6404s, you know, most of them are Ampere X's in the 2 power supply. The 5651s, not hard to find. I've got, you know, hundreds of those with no issues. But yeah, the 2 power supply to me, I mean, just building guitar amps like you were just talking about.
Yeah.
You know, I noticed a difference, you know, with the 2 rectifier and the sag of a device. So that's just critical. Even the stay level, like we do, you know, we have, you know, the 5Y3 rectifiers in there as well. We never take rectifier tubes out of a design. It's just something that,
That rocks.
yeah. And sometimes that's difficult too, because, you know, it's like with the BA6A we do, there's only new old stock available. Like you can't, there's no new production for the 5R4s that we use. Like in the BA6A work-alike, the only new production tubes we use are the 6V6 power tubes.
Got
and
it.
there's 9 tubes in it, and 7 of them are all new old stock. So, and
Yeah, wow.
a lot of them are from like the 1940s and 50s. They're like these black metal tubes that like you pull them out and they got the military issue like stamps on them. It's so freaking cool. Like to have a brand new tube from like it's almost 100 years old. You know.
That rocks. Yeah, the Unfairchild with the feed forward thing. What's really funny is like the way that I've been using it is I've been using it full feed forward, and I'm using it on the variable attack and release. So it's like the slowest attack, fastest release, and then I'm using it with the DC threshold all the way up, so it's like barely even moving at all, and it's like just like this like tube exciter device that like pushes my audio like forward, and it's like. Everyone that I know that like has an Unfairchild, like no one has the accessory box and no one uses it in feed forward mode with the like thing like that, like on Mixbus. You know what I mean? So it's like cool to like have a Fairchild that I'm like, no one is fucking hitting it the way that I hit it and is getting that fucking sound, you know? So it's cool to have like a different flavor and a different vibe, you know?
They are so, the box tone alone on those is so cool and unique. It's like, that's like worth the price of admission alone. There's something very complex when you put your audio through a Fairchild.
Yeah.
And it's not like a, I almost don't view it as like a total character kind of thing, but like you said, almost like a tube exciter of sorts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like
It's-
to be honest, like the compression characteristic of it isn't like my favorite. It's not like that thing where it's like, oh my god, the way that it like
Yeah.
chomps down. It's like really the fact that like when you put it in, like if your audio is a box, it like goes like this. It just gets taller and a little deeper. Like, and it's like, well, obviously because like it's tube and tube has like upper and lower harmonics. So of course, like, but it's like once you hear that happen and you switch it on, it's just like it fucking. I can't I would not ever print a mix without this on it. You know what I mean? And like, and the more
Yeah.
that like, you know, like my mix hits its like compression aspect of it, it like sounds slow and kind of gooey, which is like cool for a piano or smoothing out a vocal, but like that's not what I'm trying to do to my mix. But I love like its size and its thing and what it does. So that's like why I use it in that feed forward like exciter mode way. But yeah, like the tube aspect, like just like the total, like you're saying, the box tone of like running a thing through a Fairchild is just like, also like anyone who's like used a good tape machine that's like been like that, where it's like, if you just print every channel through the tape and it's hitting like at 0 and or a little bit above and then mix it, it's way fucking easier to mix. The whole thing coagulates way fucking easier. And like I was doing a record the other day where it's like a more ballady thing with like acoustic and piano and vocals. So I just printed every fucking channel through the Fairchild, you know what I mean? Just on like the normal one, like Fairchild setting, just like hitting like maybe 2 or 3 dB and just like did that to everything. And then it's like going through the Fairchild at the end and it's just like, it auto mixes itself, you know? And it's cool because like as long as like my tones are cool, like it like helps kind of, you know, do the multi-bandish thing where it like makes sure a thing not sounds so sharp or not so fluffy and not so, you know what I mean? Like, so it all just like compacts everything into a way where like it just is a very auto cool thing. It's tight. And it's sick that you're making a Fairchild and it will be a way cooler available price for other people to experience that type of awesome shit.
No, thank you. I just like I was saying, the complexity of them, like, you know, it almost is like the only thing I can sort of equate the feeling I get when I listen to it is like what summing does with complex material.
Yeah.
Like it does something like if the Fairchild was like a person, it would be like it's like layers deep. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like maybe it's an old war vet. Like this guy's got some stories, you know, like it's super like complex. I love
Absolutely.
it. And, whereas like you said, the character of the compression, like the BA6A is it's a very mu. I personally enjoy the character of that compression more. And like people sometimes, you know, I know it takes up 10U to get 2 of them, but they, you know, those are something different across a mix bus as well. That's very, if you're looking for like straight up tube character, I would pick the BA6A over like the Fairchild. But if you're looking for something to do exactly what you're doing with the complex material, like, you know, that's what we go with. Obviously, there's a reason why the thing exists and it's a standard, you know, that's the other stuff, other reasons. Like I had a record that one of the first records I did, and I was not engineering it. It was poorly engineered. And it went to Georgetown Masters in Nashville, and they ran it through a 670. Okay. It was like, holy shit. Like through an original, like, what a difference.
Fix that mix.
Yeah, so I've been sold on the 670 for a very long time.
Yeah, I got a good Fairchild story for you, actually. So one of my favorite mastering engineers in the world is this guy, Brian Big Bass Gardner. And like he became my favorite where it's like, you know, you listen to a Blink-182 record and turn it around. And it's like Jerry Finn, Brian Big Bass Gardner. Okay, like so then you just start seeing Brian's name on everything. And like he had always like, you know, just like his shit just always sounded the loudest. It sounded like the thickest and the glossiest and was just so fucking good. And like, you know, Dr. Dre 2001, Michael Jackson Thriller, Katy Perry Teenage Dream, like Blink-182, Foo Fighters, like all his masters just sounded amazing. And so I worked with him on a few records and he was like just phenomenal to work with. And then eventually when I had Eric mix a record for me, Eric Valentine, I was asking him, like, we're finishing the record. I'm like, hey, do you have any mastering preferences? He's like, no, you're the producer. What do you think? I'm like, I like Brian. Like, do you want to work with Brian again? He's like, actually, I got a really funny story about Brian. Do you know that Brian could be credited with creating the role of a mastering engineer? I was like, what? Like, wasn't that like Carl Saff or whatever that like created mastering or, you know? And so then I asked Brian about this. Like, I got him on the phone. I asked him about it. And he was like, the story, it's actually like even a little bit cooler, but basically he was like cutting the fucking lacquer for a Creedence Clearwater record or like a Creedence mix. And so he's like, you know, mailed the tape comes in, he puts it on the machine and he's ready to fucking cut it. And like, he's getting overs. And so he has to like mark on the PQ sheet, like I have an over here and here and here. And you need to go remix this so that I don't have these fucking overs. And so he sends the tape back, sends that back. This process like happens like 6 fucking times. And eventually he's like, now I'm getting new overs in other places and they're fixing some here. And he's like, eventually I was just like, fuck this. I'm going to do what I've heard, like Carl or whoever. Is it Carl Saff? Am I correct? Whoever was the first guy to do it.
I'm not sure.
Bobcats? Is that? I know he's one of the
early stars.
Yeah, he's an OG one. Yeah, I don't think that, but yeah. So anyways, basically he was like, so what I did was I grabbed a fucking Fairchild and I put that on it and I put a Pultec before it, and he went to the attenuate feature on the Pultec and set to 60 hertz and just dipped wherever it happened and like got a little bit of fucking tube love and got a little bit of fucking thing to like help clear up so that like the bass, like the dropouts wouldn't be so fucking noticeable, and sent it, and they were just like all of a sudden, like the execs from like wherever he was working was like, yo, Brian, so what did you do to that? And he's like, why, am I in trouble? They're like, no, they loved it. Like they're so ecstatic about it. And so then that company like that he was working for sent him around and had him show the workflow to other mastering people, and that basically created the role of a mastering engineer. So like mastering was a thing that was happening, but like the actual like thing. So point is like Brian was like the first like OG, like, you know, savant with a Fairchild. And it's like, once you put audio through a fucking Fairchild, you're like, there's that sound. There's that thing that has been in existence on all these records that I've heard for eternity. And I don't know what it is, but it's glossy and it's smooth and it's big and it's round. And when I use my digital Pro Tools station, it doesn't sound glossy or smooth, you know what I mean? And then you put it through a Fairchild. It's like, that's it. That's the fucking sound. Like, just like when you put a Neve EQ on a snare drum and EQ it at like the most popular like EQ points, and you're like, that is the sound, that's a rock snare. Like that was the easiest fucking thing. It's like, yeah, because everyone used this exact same fucking tool. It was the workflow. So yeah, I love a Fairchild. I think it's cool, and I think the history of it is really fucking cool.
Yeah, that's
when
awesome.
is your Fairchild expected for release?
We're talking end of the year a
End of
little
the year.
bit. Yeah, I'm still messing with it a little bit. You know, some stuff. I'm happy with the blend circuit we're using in it as well. You know, but yeah, it's tentatively end of year. We've started stuffing the boards and everything here.
Cool.
So yeah,
that's tight.
Yeah.
And then that made me think of another question I was just about to ask you, but it was escaping me. Maybe it'll come back.
That happens.
Yeah, it does happen.
Yeah. It'll happen. I think it's because I haven't smoked enough weed is what it is. Oh, I know what it was.
Could be it.
What is the trademark of Fairchild? Are you allowed to call it Fairchild? Who owns the trademark? What happened with the trademark? Please tell me.
I think somebody does own the trademark on Fairchild.
Does Telefunken own it now or whatever? Also, rest in peace to that dude.
I think
That's really
so.
sad.
We were never going to even before all that going to use that, just because the concept was fair comp. You're going to get everything included in it for a great price.
For a fair price.
Yeah, for a fair price. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and you know, people, you can start running the. There's a reason why they cost what they do, because you start running the materials on the BOM, and you're like, 86386s. You know, crap ton of audio transformers, even power transformers. You know, like they all add up. If you're going to use quality parts, like people don't talk about this enough, but power transformers, you know.
Yeah.
That you put a cheap one in there, you can burn your house down.
Absolutely.
Or burn your studio down. You know?
There's nothing that offends me more than buying a piece of gear that has a wall wart. You know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah,
what,
sometimes there is a way to use those in a certain way, but yeah, generally I love good, like our tube stuff in particular. Hammond power transformers, or you know, we have a company in Chicago that OEMs some too for like our opto and that.
Nice.
The bobbin style transformers, those are never like in a tube circuit will we like go with anything that's like, because that's where you start getting in, like you mentioned earlier, scary land. When you start pushing some, you know, 500 volts DC, 750, you know, on the Fairchild volt DC, pump it through there. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, that will definitely kill you. You know, some of the 500 volt DC ones I've been unlucky with. I've been unlucky at times, yeah. And we have a little shock chart here, like days and flash shock. And Ian actually has, and he writes down who
and what unit and at what voltage.
Yeah, usually they're just touching the wall. They're touching the inside of a power switch or something stupid, which won't hurt you that bad. You know?
Yeah, that sucks. That like I said, like I loved like, and I respect gear enough to be like, I'm just not gonna fuck with tube stuff. If this has the potential to kill me, not gonna do it. Like some 500 builds, some fucking pedals, like 9-volt, whatever. I'm
9
cool with
volts, you
that.
get
Like,
your hands in
anything,
there.
Yeah,
That's where,
exactly. Yeah.
get your hands in there, whatever. I don't care. Yeah.
That's good. So what current projects are you working on right now, Sam?
I like thankfully have finished mixing a couple of them, but there was a moment there where I had 16 productions simultaneously this year.
Shit.
But yeah, like a lot of shit, basically. A lot of them is like homies, a few of like friends bands that like kind of got back together, and I kind of like was like, hey, we should do some stuff. And I like once plugins kind of took off, and like once my kids were born, I was just like, you know what I want to do? I want to just fucking like buy some sick gear and like make records I really want to make right now, as opposed to like have to fucking record what I don't want to record. So I just like kind of took on a few passion projects, and then like stacked on a couple other stuff, which has all been like really great that we have like this really cool fucking team where it's like, Teresa's doing vocals and I'm doing this. So it's like we're splitting up things, and it's real nice to like not have to be here every day working on things and like being able to executive produce on that way. So it's tight. So anyways, but like there's my old band Heavy Heavy Lolo is like, we're working on a new album, which they have like a fun, strange lore of like not many people, respected or knew who they were, but now people who are pretty successful in some really strange avant projects would cite Heavy Heavy Lolo as like a very big influence and reference for them. So we're working on a new album with that. There's a band, the Spirit World, that I like have worked with for the past 2 records. They're a metal band, but they're like a Western themed metal band. So half the songs on this record are country and half the songs are metal. So I have a country drum setup. Yeah, I have a country drum setup. I have a metal drum setup. I have country guitar like tones and country guitar setups and metal guitars and metal setups. And then some parts of the songs is like, it's a country part of the song, then a metal part of the song. So like it's a complete different drum sound, a different guitar sound, and a total fucking different recording that goes on in the same. So it's like been really ambitious. And on top of that, it's like I'm a huge like Jeff Lynne fan, and like Traveling Wilburys and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, well, like they, would stack like 8 fucking guitar takes because each guy rocked on guitar. So they had just all of them play the same guitar part. So like on like these acoustic parts of these like songs, it's like there's like 8 stereo tracks of acoustics, meaning it's 16 mono performances that are all fucking like tuned and edited and like psycho. So like I've been going real fucking psycho on things. And also I've been doing shit where I like recently I haven't like, I basically like say that I don't record drummers anymore. Like that's not a thing. Instead, I record kick drum, and then I record snare drum, and then I record toms, and then I record hi-hat, and I split up everything, and I do it like Peter Gabriel, Jim, like, Jeff Lynne, like whatever. I do it. So I'm just like, I just want to be able to like turn up my snare room mics and not have any bleed in there and have to deal with those things. I want to like just make beautiful arrangements and productions and like just make records that like I want to make, as opposed to like, whatever, man, like get in there and play that drum kit and knock it out, and I'll use a bunch of samples and gates. Like that's stupid. Like that's old people. You know what I mean? Like that's like, it's like you eventually like get to that. Like, well, it's so funny because like it's such like a like people who are like into that, they're like, wait, so you record just drum, like kick, just snare? Doesn't that take forever? It's like, what takes forever? Having to fucking sample a line every fucking gate and every opening thing, and fucking that takes fucking forever. And as I'm doing that, I'm like, you know what? I just wish I'd had him just hit a snare and not the hi-hat simultaneously, so I don't have this issue and like have to use the sampler to like get my hi-hat bleed out. Like that's recording fucking bands. Like that's not producing. That's not like doing fun stuff. So like I've been doing a lot of that recently, which is like really fun and like really tedious. But then I'm also like, getting psycho where I'm like, all right, well, I usually like put EQ and like compress and like do these things in my channels of drums, but like, why don't I just record everything dry? And then I can spend the time like later on trying every compressor and trying every EQ. So like, I'm excited. I'm like having a great time doing this. And like half of my fucking clients are just like, I want to finish this record. I don't care. You're a psycho. You know what I mean? So like, I have definitely burdened quite a few people with like by producing their records. You know what I mean? Like so, and thankfully, like the ones who like really fucking stick on and like really like value it are having a good time, and I'm really stoked on the end results, and it's really good. But like that's what I've been doing recently is I've been like going into production and arrangement world of just like like building my perfect like workflow, building my perfect like signal flow, like building my perfect mix template of my things where like everything that I do like sounds really good. And like when like I have new people that send me mixes, like immediately I'm pulling them up and it just like sounds better than the ref, and it's just playing back through my fucking calibrated bus comps that I like using on these things, you know. So like it's so funny because like, you know, everyone's like, isn't that hard to like use external, and like why don't you just use plugins? Like, dude, it's actually way fucking easier if I like have these really cool calibrated settings that I know are like perfect, and I pull up the fucking raw audio and bus it to these things and spend like 3 minutes on my faders here, and I can have it sounding immediately better than the rough mix, no problem. And then I could sit there and spend plugin world time and go through every channel and clean it up and be best friends with the songs and like sit there on Zoom and make it great with the person, you know what I mean? Which is like then funny because you go through all that and I'm like, maybe I liked it better dry. Maybe I should have not printed with my, so yeah. But yeah, it's like, it's, you know, it's a psycho world of like being in the flow state and like just making things that sound really good to me and like trying to do that, you know, and like it's funny, like the other day, like we're developing a new Purified plugin, like we've been beta testing it. And I one of the reasons like I really want it is because like I like need it for guitars all the time, and like I don't have enough of this to like put on every fucking channel of a guitar. And I love like when I'm doing like mixing, it's like it'll start off as like, because I do a bunch of stacking and arrangements of stuff. So it's like if it's like a stereo guitar part and then a lead comes in, I then put that onto a new track so that I can adjust the level of the rhythm and the lead, as opposed to like be like, well, the rhythm will stay the same as it is, or automate that, whatever. I'll put it on a whole new channel. So then I need to like change what's on the channel there. So I would love to just have more plugin stuff. So anyways, now I've been using this shit on like guitar, like all my guitar tracks. And like, I don't know how I fucking lived with and like made records and like mixed with this time. And it's like, you know, at the end of like mixing like 6 songs, like, and I do all my songs in the same session too, which is like kind of psycho for most people. They're like freak out when they learn about that. They're like, do you have 10 songs in the same session? It's like, yeah, well, it's because I don't want my console. I want it to be the same tape machine, and I want it to be my console. You know what I mean? Like so I just want it to all be playing back and like make buses that are inside of this like beautiful routing system that's all working. So anyways, like when I'll get down to like 6 songs of guitars, it's like, it'll be like 112 tracks of guitar stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, and it started off as like 6 stereo guitar parts. You know what I mean? But it's just like, it gets complicated and I just duplicate. So yeah, it's like, I just get psycho, you know? And that's where it's like, it's fun to just be in and to be like, what would make my life better? I should make a plugin that like, I should buy this piece of gear that would do this. I should do, like, I'm always just building like my perfect flow state and my perfect like way for me to just like sit here and be confident when I leave at the end of the day that like I've actually like made some of my best work I've ever done, and I'm like actually like excelling at each day. We're one up in and we're stepping up and we're making everything sound better. I don't listen to old records and be like, fuck, how do I get back to that? Like like I was so good then and now I suck. You know what I mean? So like it's tight. I've been being a fucking psycho. Being myself. That's what I've been up to recently. That's the long answer to your easy question, right?
That's cool.
That's a great answer. I think that's interesting because some of the stuff you do is non-traditional, like what you were talking about. Usually each song's in its own session, or you know, people are using the gates on the drums, and I think that's cool though, because that's your sound. That's you. That's what makes you. And when they come and record, that's what they're getting, and you know they should know that, you know, what they're getting themselves into. Before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like the more I go on, like the more I realize that like the secret is being yourself. You know what I mean? And like the secret is like telling your story, which is your thing, and like following your aesthetic and like doing your thing. You know, like you are the answer to all of your problems. You are the source of all of your problems. You know, like it's you. So like and like most of my favorite artists are all people who are just like very, you know, introverted, like, you know, they're introspective and like very like their way that they hear things is the way that it becomes, you know. So I just try to just be more of myself through the process and be like, you know what I would like to do is this, and like I know that like it's untraditional, but it actually would make me feel better if I did it this way, and like so whatever. I'd rather be, and I say this to people too, I'd rather be wrong than right. I'd rather like be like, I made a mistake, the other way was clearly the better way, let's do that. I'd rather like establish where too far has gone and what the ceiling is, as opposed to like have to be like, I don't feel like I went far enough, you know? So, but I do have a tendency of burning people up by always fucking running through the stop signs, you know what I mean? Like eventually people are just like, all right, this fool doesn't know how to read the room, you know?
that's awesome though, because like, exactly, running through the stop signs equals no roadblocks. So by just not being afraid to make the wrong decision and going too far, you're going to get further along. Even if you have to back it up and then go a different way, you're going to get, that's one of the most difficult things is just, avoiding roadblocks with anything. It's just, production is, we deal with that all the time. Just getting, we don't have the transformers. Oh, we don't have, there's a million little bits you get, and anything can hold you up that week, or that day or whatever. So it's, how do you make something happen? So that's cool.
I really love that documentary, Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Someone was asking me about it the other day because they were like, I've never seen it, and like, isn't that one of your favorite documentaries? Which is mine. Have you guys ever seen that documentary? Do you know what I'm talking about? Jiro Dreams of Sushi. It's like basically like if you've ever seen like any of the Netflix like Chef's Table or anything like that, it was like all that is like a ripoff of Jiro. Jiro was the first documentary that did that. I think it's actually like the same director and production company that like runs Chef's Table and stuff now. But basically like the documentary is they follow this dude Jiro who runs a sushi shop, and he's like that's the only fucking thing he does. And he wakes up and he goes there and he makes fucking sushi, and like it's like so elite and so like high that he can only have like 12 customers in at a day, and that's it, no more. And they like show like his like son going to the market every single day and finding like what is the available and what is the best thing. And like, even if you want to be able to cook and make this, like it wasn't available at the market, and like we're only going to serve what has the best shit. So like every fucking day he has to make something different that is actually just like based upon the ingredients and what's there. And like, I've like, when I watch them, I'm just like, this is my fucking life. Like literally, like someone walks into my door and I have to like make this into like the same quality of shit that I do every single fucking day through them, and like, so I really like that, like that vibe, and like really, that resonates with me is like, every fucking day is different, you know what I mean? And like every fucking problem, like even if you have like your way of fixing it, like it's probably not going to work again the second way. And also what worked for that guy is totally not going to work for you too. You know, even though like he swears, like it's like that, it's the conundrum of how that always works out, So it's like the secret is being yourself, following your thing, making your mistakes, correcting your thing. It's like, it sounds so like stupid and like, when I put it in like how easy it is, but it really is. And like, that's what I really just try to like focus on every day is like being me, being in my flow zone, and like really just like putting myself into my work and making things that like I feel really passionate about, that I like am stoked to show people and be like, hey, I think this is actually like a positive contribution to like the world. Like, check out this product or this fucking like this song or this fucking whatever, like anything I'm applying myself to, I'm just like trying to make it the best thing fucking possible, because isn't that the point?
Exactly. And you touched on this earlier. Every day just getting a little bit better, like not looking back and like it's the same thing with our products. It's like you hear that sometimes with companies that, oh, in the first run they use this, and this is I want this from serial numbers this to this.
Yeah,
and it's
fuck
like,
that.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah, exactly. Like each day, you buy something from us. Our goal is it to be the best it could be. That day when it leaves. Yeah. We're trying
like
to get
whatever. We're just gonna do this
day.
shitty on this one revision, and then Rev B is gonna be like where it's at. But like we gotta fucking meet the manufacturing deadlines, and fucking money's in, money's out, so we gotta put the product out. Like that sucks. I hate that.
That sucks.
I totally feel that way about like just being creative in general too. Also, the other thing is like having kids now too. Like it's like they grow, like everyone's like, it happens so fast. They grow so fucking fast. But like, it does happen fast, but also like at the same time, like they don't fucking learn things like instantaneously in a day. And it takes like, you're like watching my baby right now who's like transitioning from like not being able to crawl to like being able to crawl and stand. And like, it happens fast, you know what I mean? But it's like, every fucking day he's working at it and he's getting fucking better at it. And then 4 weeks later, like all of a sudden it's like, damn, this guy can like almost fucking stand on his own and do this shit. You know what I mean? So like, and like when you get older, you lose like the fucking discipline and the passion, and it's just like about now, and like it's the whole like hobby level fucking input and career level expectations. People walk in here and just want to spend no fucking time on doing this, and I'm like, isn't this your passion? Like, don't you like making music? Don't you want to be a musician who makes songs and has people love your songs and want to see you play them live because they love your music? Don't you want to come into this room and hang out with me and sit here and work on those songs every day. Wouldn't that be so fun? But it's like literally like maybe 75% of my clients treat the studio like it's the biggest burden. They fucking hate it. It's like an essay that they can't wait to get done with. It's an SAT they didn't prepare for that they're going to cram the night before. It's like, what the fuck is like, what is going on here? You know
this
what I
is
mean?
the music playground. You got to
yeah,
be
this is
fun in here.
this is the coolest instrument. Like my favorite thing ever is like, what's the coolest instrument? The studio. You know what I mean? That's like, it's the best way to make music is go to the studio and use it, you know?
And the way you're doing it too, you're keeping everyone engaged the whole time. It's not like there's anyone just sitting or loafing around like we were talking about earlier. So it's like, yeah, how can you not get inspired? You know, like I used to love the studio way more than live. Like that was
like touring, I'm just like, all right, like I hate live sound. It's really stressful. Like you walk in and you're like, what works? No, at that time, like, because like now everyone has their fucking rigs that they tour with and plug in, but like it's like the horn doesn't work on this fucking one. Input number, blah blah blah, doesn't work. We only use this fucking compressor, but it has to be set at this fucking set. You know, it's just like this sucks. The whole thing, and then like it's like I'm like with some fucking delusional band that has like 4 fucking keyboards and 4 fucking vocals. I'm like, this sucks. You know what I mean? Like
double drum kit.
Yeah, exactly. It fucking sucks. And I'm like, why don't I just go to the studio and like make music that like sounds great and I can keep playing it over? Like, so I like very quickly, like I was like, the studio is where it's at for me. And it has always been too. It's like the reason I wanted to go to a show, and I think like most people don't admit this to themselves, but like the reason you want to go to a show is because you fell in love with the record. You fell in love with the music. It's not because like you saw them live and you're like, oh, dude, live they're the best. Listen to the album, they suck live. I never listen to them they suck on album. I never listen to the record. I have to only go see them live. That's where it's at. Like maybe Grateful Dead is that way. I don't really know, but like, so you know what I mean though. It's like
yeah, totally.
I fucking like I want to be the guy that like makes the thing that you fall in love with, and I know that I can do that. You know.
No, that's a nail on the head. Yeah. You know, couldn't have said it better ourselves. That's funny. Yeah, you never hear that.
Now, don't you have a catalog of drum samples too that you sell?
So yeah, I did a couple I did like a collab with like JST and like STL and stuff. So there's like STL, they did like my amp profiles, which is a pretty cool pack that I use pretty often. And then there's a drum sample one that I did with like drum shots, and that's a pretty simple one. It was basically just like some one shots from a couple of records, and it's like a $20 thing. Then like the main one that's like the crazy one is like the first plugin that we ever did, which is the Liquid Death Snare, and like that's like I think it's like one of the most like genius fucking like collabs that ever fucking happened, where it's like Liquid Death made a snare drum with SJC. What the fuck? That's so fucking random. So then why don't we make this where I make like samples of it and I tune it to every fucking possible note that this thing can do. So we had a chromatic, and I think it's like the first ever like actually like tuned chromatically fucking sample like library. We made it for free, and it's just put it up there, and like Liquid Death promoted it. And so like I think we've sold like over 60,000 of that plugin. So it's like 60,000 different customers have entered our store and purchased that plugin for $0. And it rocks. And like, you know, if and when we want to email market to them, we can just shout it out to those 60,000 people, you know, and be like, we got a new $20 plugin. So shit like that is tight, you know, but like, the one that I've been really like trying to get happening, which is just like this like labor of love, and like also just like imagining like how cringe I have to sound like pitching it to fucking Ed. It's like, dude, I want to make a drum sample plugin where it's like all these different cymbals, it's all these different toms and snares, and I want it to be every single fucking possible note, so you can be like a D major drum kit, a C major drum kit, and then he's like, yeah, man, that sounds great. And it's like I just sent him like hundreds of gigabytes of data, and I'm like, what's up with that plugin? Is that ever like coming together? So it's like I would love to make that thing a reality, but I also know that that's a huge undertaking. It's never really been done. Like it's like, and also at the same time, it's like to go through all that and then be like, I think I could make them sound better today, maybe. You know, like hopefully that's not a thing. You know what I mean? So it's like I have like a beta version of that I had built before in Contact, and I use that pretty often, which is like that like, and it's funny because like just the power of doing that and like having that at my fingertips. It's like you can like load up one shot samples from all these people, but then going to my fucking library and being like, this song I'm working on is in the key of B flat minor. So I'm going to choose B flat for the fucking kick and the fucking fifth for the fucking snare. And you do it, and it's like, I got 14 different versions of that snare note. And it's like, I could switch between all the snares and it's the same fucking note. And then you go to a different note and it's like clearly not the fucking snare note that should be for the song. It's not right. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's so cool where people are like, no, this whole drum tuning like thing to a note, it's like a total fucking scam. It's like, I will fucking show you. I will load up the fucking folder and I will fucking show. So it's tight. It's like really cool to like have that as a thing. And it's like, it also like helps me like know and be like, well, I know that my DW performance snare like really sounds great at this note. And I always really like it at this one. And I'm about to record a song at this key, so I should use that snare. So it's cool. It's like, it's fun to go through those things and like, you know, the unknown of how it's going to help me and help someone else in the future, you know. But yeah, so there's a couple different drum sample things out there currently, and ideally we'll make a really crazy and cool, complicated one at some point, and that'll happen.
That's
but
amazing.
Yeah, I like
that's
that
a great idea. Dang. That is an undertaking.
Yeah. But like again, like no one's really done that, and no one like has the endurance to like want to do things like that, you know. So like, why don't I do that? I should do that. And like people really love the Liquid Death snare. They hit me up and they're like, dude, we need the Liquid Death kick now. I'm like, yeah, like I don't want to. Yeah, yes, I agree. You know what I mean? But I want to do the big thing, and I'd rather like do it right than just like do just a kick drum thing. And then so it's cool to do the Liquid Death snare thing. It's like a really cool like cross promotion and cool branding thing and stuff like that. But like I would really love to do like my idealized version of it, and that's what it would be.
Sick.
Now, where can customers get these plugins at? What website do they have to
So
visit for that?
it's all through my website, which is purified.com, and people don't really know how to spell that because it's a play on my last name. So PURAFIED.com. That is the company. And it's funny. It's like people will still be like Sam Pura from Purified. And they don't put it together. That it's like, it's really fun. But yeah, purified.com. And then the drum sample one is, I think it's like drumshots.com. And then the STL pack is through STL. But yeah, like Purified stuff. Check it out. Hit me up anytime. Best friends.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely want to check out Sam's plugins because they, like we were talking about. I know we basically spent the whole podcast talking about it, but it warrants that because they are that good, they are that useful, and yeah, they're problem solvers. You know, like you're gonna, you know, you find yourself angry throwing a mic at a wall, you know, go use Sam's plugins.
Yeah, and also the other cooler thing too is like fucking Ed develops them, and like Ed is the fucking goddamn shit, and I think he's I think he's like a savant in plugin creation. Is like this like untapped recognition of like how actually like great his stuff is and how great his coding is, and like he just everything that he does with me sounds really good, and he's like a phenomenal human being, and like so like it's cool like to not only like be a guy that like contributes like a cool aspect of the plugin, but then also like it wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for him being so fucking tight. You know what I mean? So like it's like such a cool aspect that like both of us together get to make really cool products like that people are really like valuing and are benefiting their workflow tremendously.
Exactly, and I don't even know if we'd be talking even right now without Ed. That's what's so cool about this, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Ed is awesome. Yeah,
he rocks. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about Ed. He rocks.
So awesome. I think,
good.
Yeah, I think we're good. I don't hear anyone soldering next door or any fans going, so I think the work day's done too, just about here.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you guys got planned all weekend? Anything fun?
What about you, Justin? What are you doing?
Nothing.
You're doing. I'm flying.
Actually, I got to start a mix on Sunday.
There we go.
Nice.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm going to be chilling tonight and tomorrow.
Oh, that's
great.
Yeah, I'm flying up to Maine with the family. Just a little quick trip, you know.
That's
up
tight.
there. Go to Acadia National Park.
Escape the heat. Lucky you.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, it's my last weekend being sterile or fertile or whatever it is. I'm getting sterilized next week. No big deal. It's happening. I'm committing. It's my masculinity is leaving me in a few days. And so I'll be demasculated and turned into a shell of the confident human being that I currently am after this weekend. So it's my last weekend to swing it around, you know, and rage.
Well, hey,
go out with a bang.
That's right. I was going to say. Well, thanks for taking time out of your day and spending it with us, Sam.
Yeah, not a problem.
Great speaking
I'm super glad that this happened.